Hey, what up? So, disclaimer: this build might suck. Don't do it. Uh, Now we got that out of the way. Let's talk about my Leaguestarter.
Pulse with lightning damage that arcs to as arrows head support. Storm Rain is a new bow skill that fires arrows that stick into the ground. These arrows periodically pulse with lightning damage that arcs to nearby arrows. This skill works very well with multiple projectiles because you can quickly set up a large patch of lightning death.
Okay, there's the skill, and let's very quickly go over a bit of mechanics. I need to
nearby arrows.
Do that and slow this so you can see it. So let's first cover some of the unknowns. Or I guess what we do know. So you shoot arrows, depending on how many projectiles you have. I will have 5 because GMP. The arrow will land. It will do a like AoE hit. We don't know exactly how big the AoE is. And then after that, every 0.41 seconds, it pulses from another like arrow to another, having like an area attack projectile beam on there that deals damage to stuff in there. So one arrow can potentially have 5 hits. The initial landing hit and then 4 pulses. And it does not always pulse to the closest arrow. And I'll show it here. So pay attention to this one here, this arrow right here. So the first pulse goes to here. You can see where it pulses by like these small sparks. And then the second one went all the way down here, even though there's a crazy amount of arrows here. So that's out of the way. We don't know if there's like a preference to close arrows or not. And I'm not entirely sure if the spark is just an indicator of from where to where it goes, or if there's like an AoE portion. So let's say that when this arrow were to shoot here and sparks out, if it sparks out like showing that there's like a small AoE and the damage can be dealt in a monster that is like behind the arrow as well because of the AoE, or is it only between them? So that's one thing we don't know. We don't know exactly how AoE is gonna affect it. Is it gonna make the, again, if it has an AoE explosion there, is it gonna make the bigger hit range there or like hitbox there? Is it gonna affect how far the beams can go between arrows? So maybe with conk effect this can't hit this because it's too far. We don't know. And then how like does it do anything with the lightning beam? So let's say that we use conk effect to make it less AoE. If the monster was standing here, will it get hit by it because the beam is now thinner? I don't know. We don't know. That's the things we don't know. Now we got that out of the way. Let's go quickly to my POB here. So what I'm doing is, well, Raider. We're going Raider because Onslaught is kind of hard to get now. That's one thing. Raider. So what Raider actually lost? Let's quickly go over that. So you lost 3% movement speed from each of these small nodes. In return, you actually gained 10 LE damage. So I'd actually say it's better for us. You lost 50% chance to avoid elements from here, but because they nerfed the ways of getting avoidance, this is actually still extremely strong. And then from here, you lost 50% onslaught effect. So what Raider actually ended up losing if you took this route is 6% movement speed from these two nodes, 10% movement speed, 10% cast and attack speed from the 50% onslaught effect here. And in return, you gained 20 damage. So basically nothing. Okay. So we get the permanent onslaught, we get crazy evasion, we get some minus res on enemies through the exposure. They also have less accuracy from phasing, and we get phasing and dodge and spell dodge here. And we are a phase acro build. We are MOM, EO, so we're not going crit. Then we also go Wall Pact, I'll talk about later, Wind Dancer, and Point Blank. I'll cover the Point Blank first quick. So the point blank distance is based on the travel distance of the arrow from the origin point. So yes, quick paint. You guys love that. So let's say I'm standing here where I'm shooting. If I shoot my arrows here, it's a pretty far distance. So if I shoot the arrows here and then I walk into the arrows, they do not gain any damage because I'm closer to them now. And they don't gain damage, like the point blank damage isn't based on where they landed. Based where you when the arrows landed from the origin point, so you. So instead, you want to shoot the arrows at your feet, so they will gain the point blank effect. And even if you here start moving around, they are still benefiting from the point blank effect in here because that's where they were shot like originally. So it is very, very important that if you use point blank, which I think you should use, you're actually kind of targeting your feet instead of shooting far away. So there's that. We are Wind Dancer because we get less damage taken if we haven't been hit, and Crazy Evasion if we do get hit. So with all of the Raider stuff and some evasion gear, it points out to be currently with my current plan gear at least 98% chance to avoid any projectile or melee attack if we've been hit recently. If not, if we haven't been hit recently, it's like 94%. And if the enemy isn't blinded, then that's gonna be like 75 still. So that's like the worst case scenario. And we will always be blinding because you just get a random ass jewel on a searching or murderous eye. I think, I'm not sure if murderous I can get that one. Yeah, searching eye. That's blind on hit. Because of the amount of hits we do on this build, it is very easy to make sure that everything is blinded. So that alone is basically gonna make us not get hit at all. God damn it. So next up, let's talk about MOM. So we are MOM with this build. There's a couple reasons. One, defenses, because 30% of damage taken goes from mana before life, and then we also get like something like Shaper Chest that gets another 10%. So that makes our EHP pool much higher against one shots and well damage in general, and it also helps us with the crazy mana multiplier changes, because now we're actually stacking mana on this build. As you can see, we have mana there, we have mana here, mana there, mana, and more mana there. So we will use Arcane Cloak, which is actually crazy damage. Also, don't pay attention to the combined DPS here. The two numbers that you should pay attention to is the attack rate and the average damage. So usually the average damage with Cloak goes down a lot, and then if we take Sigil of Power out, now suddenly with like basically over doubles my damage by having the Sigil and the Arcane Cloak, because we're scaling attack speed and flat damage, right? There's a couple other ways to play, like build this, I think, but yeah. This is gonna be like very, very important for single target DPS. And then we use, ideally, Mind of the Council as an endgame helmet. It's best in slot. I don't think there's nothing that compares to it. I have a Blizzard helmet here with 6% increased LE damage, -9 res, and then has the cold damage. And it's just so much worse. Another option of a helmet before you get Mind of the Council is Crown of the Inward Eye. But if you do that, then your Anoint shouldn't be Crusader. Your endgame Anoint with Mind of the Council is going to be Crusader. But with Inward, which is a very tanky option and pretty easy to obtain, and potentially get a very good enchant on it in Trade League, and you can corrupt them, is budget option is Farsight. It's only 2 Verdants and a Crimson. Then there's something like Arcane Blows or Mark for Death, and then you actually just take these, but that's a silver. And I would personally just save the silver to get Crusader when you get the proper helmet. The other way, and before that, Obscurantis or Sargonjas are totally fine. And your bow, best in slot bow is gonna be Tempest. Then you have Stormcloud before that. I'm not planning to actually switch to this build from my leveling build, which is Toxic Rain, which I'll talk about soon, before I get Stormcloud, which is actually pretty easy to farm. And also looking at the attack speed, the capped attack speed is actually 50%, unless you get the alt quality from Harvest. I think it's 1% attack speed per 8 quality, and then you get like 24 quality, and now that's extra 3%. So that's like a perfect roll there. And funnily enough, you could use Quill Rain as well. It has mana gain on hit, which is very, very good. I'll talk about that in a second. Well, we're getting a lot of hits, so that's very good, right? But I'll probably just go Stormcloud. But Quill Rain will also feel good. I don't know. 7 attacks per second is pretty goddamn nice. Oh yeah, also there's a maximum of 100 arrows, which is pretty hard to get if you're attack based. But if you're using Quill Rain, is one way of getting it for sure. And some links. So we have Rain of Arrows here for simulation for the attack, the average damage, because it has the same base, like the attack damage is 58.1%. If we put the gem at level 17, and then we'll get GMP, we'll get Mirage Archer, we'll get Ellie damage attacks, we get Ellie Focus, and Lightning Pen, as the 6th link is here. I'm not actually sure. Ellie Focus might be the last 6th link. I don't know. We'll see. Inspiration is another option instead of Ellie Focus to lower the mana cost like a lot. However, because they changed to Arcane Cloak, you like not giving you maximum sigil stages with one use. You're limited to one now. You actually need to spend mana inside the Sigil of Power now to get the stages. So it's kind of important to make sure that your mana cost is actually a bit higher. So we have like a 60 mana cost with a 6 link, plus if you're using Mana to Council, that's another 3% of your mana per attack. So with like 5k mana like we have here, that's another 150, so that's 200 mana. But the Mind of the Council lose mana is not considered mana spent for the sake of the Sigil of Power. So with 5-ish attacks per second with 60 mana gain, it's pretty easy to keep, like actually get the max stages of Sigil of Power for single target bossing if you link it with increased duration. I think the base duration is like 12 seconds, so it's like talking about 20-second duration there, and it takes you maybe like 5 seconds to get it. So yeah, shouldn't be too difficult. What else? You want just I'm probably just gonna do Quiver with the Essence of Woe for the Ellie damage until I get a high life roll, and then you want to craft the Frenzy Charge on crit, and that's how you get Frenzy Charges. Until that, you're gonna get from Blood Rage. You're using Blood Rage anyways for the attack speed, but for bossing that's gonna be nice. Body Armor is just life, damage taken from mana, and then until you get Shaper Boots, this will be crafted Avoidance most likely, in combination with this one node here, will be 30%. Or if you get the actual Unveil, which is 30%, you can take that out and you're still capped. The gloves, I guess ideally you want the Redeemer item so that you can get the lightning damage if you dealt crits recently, but there's also just a flat lightning damage, which is like, I think it's like half of this from normal, like the normal lightning on a non-influenced item. And then you want the damage while leeching. Come that in a second again, but damage while leeching here. You also want damage while leeching on an amulet with ideally pen from Crusader again. There's a lot of options here though. Boots. If you want defenses, you want Shaper Redeemer for the spell dodge and the avoidance. If you don't care about the spell dodge, you could go Hunter for what's it called? One of you help me out. Tailwind. Tailwind is pretty good, but I don't think it's mandatory, and for hardcore I would prefer not doing that. You can also potentially do suffix cannot be changed and then crit reforge if it's a redeemer base and it's a guaranteed elusive on crit on it. But your ideal prefixes are life, mana, movement speed. So yeah. So this is an Awakener orb. Before you get Awakener orb, you just have a Shaper boots for the ailment, most likely. Because it's better to have the ailments here and the spell dodge on the body armor because it's 14% versus 10 on the boots. Then rings should be just just get mana and life, and then like Ellie damage. These are like pretty bare bones. There's probably some other options here as well. They could also have attack speed and whatnot. Belt is just life and mana. Could have damage there as well. There's some suffix damage rolls there as well. We get one blind jewel and then just life and as much life, flat lightning / attack speed as you can get. Like this is like double. This is not terribly hard to make. Flasks is just simply entering. You don't necessarily need to use, like you don't need this for actually sustaining your mana, but it's nice having it. And that means that if you have something like attack speed roll, because the movement speed roll is kind of useless now in my opinion. I love attack speed though, that's good. You can also craft the avoid being stunned. So this plus these two nodes here is already 78%. And there's different ways of getting the last one. So for example, you could harvest enchant jewels for stun avoidance 10%. And Abyss Jewels also just have a roll of stun immune or avoidance. I think it's like 20 something %. So having an Enduring Mana Flask with a avoid being stunned can actually give you stun immune for this build. Not that I don't think it's like massive problem, but yeah. Then Quartz Flask caps our spell dodge in the setup where you have the spell dodge on the boots and on the body armor. Otherwise it's 69, which is kind of nice too. Then we have just the Vice Oak, just damage flask. Could be something else. It could also be Archer's Promise, and there's a bunch of options, I think. And then Panic, Life Flask of Staunching. I probably wouldn't put this on autocast and rather try to get like extra charges enchant instead, or something like that. So yeah. Nothing too crazy there. And then let's talk about the leech quick. So since it's an attack build, we can leech. So if we take this node, let me first just show you what happens if we don't have this. So we have leech and life gain on hit. So just life gain on hit. Cool. We clap this one node here. Now we have 159 life leech cap with 368 life leech per hit. So it's a couple hits and it's capped. The amount of hits we have is insane. And oh, look at that! 998 mana leech cap from like 3 hits. So this combined with like a positive 300 mana regen on this build, we're gonna have like 1300 mana up, like regen basically uptime through all of this. And then we are just gonna, you know, click that and suddenly we have 2.3k life leech on top. And that's why I don't think we need Agnostic, because Agnostic is a crazy mana degen, and if you're using Blood Rage, it's horrible. So I'd rather not use that, and I just go Leech. Basically, we can just, most of the time, I'm assuming we can just face tank everything. I'm like even expecting to be able to face tank Saber Balls, because with the amount of mana and life we have with this, so if we'll go here, we look 5.8k life plus 4.8k mana. We're talking about 9.6k? No, wait, sorry, 10.6k there before Arcane Cloak. So Shaper basically has to hit with all of the 3 balls without us leeching in order to die from the Saber Balls. So that should be a pretty tanky build. Like I said, we also just generally don't get hit by attacks at all. And yeah, don't worry about the resistance. I was lazy to set up the resistance. I'm going to see the damage values and the life and mana values when we have the prefixes and everything. But not expecting the resistance to be a problem. There's like a resist jewel we can take here as well. And yeah. What else? think we basically covered everything there. Oh yeah. So I mentioned earlier about this, not caring about that. So let's go on a quick roll here. So let's go with the proper setup here with the Mount of the Council and the Tempest. So we have a average hit of 22.5-ish K, right? And 4.74 attacks per second. Now we're gonna go on I'm gonna show an example of very low end damage calculation here. So we are gonna ignore Mirage Archer entirely for this calculation. It doesn't do anything here. It just gives you more hits. So pay that in mind. So we have 4.74 attacks per second right now. Every single arrow, like attack we do, is 5 arrows. So we can multiply that. But first, before we do that, so well, yeah, let's do a single attack. One attack. We get 5 arrows that have potential of 5 hits each. The landing plus 4 pulses. So that is one attack, potentially 118 attacks or like hits. Now, obviously, we are not gonna get all of these. So I don't know. Maybe we get half. Maybe we get, I don't know. It's kind of hard to say. So let's cut it in half, like one in third. So let's say every third of them actually hits. So that's still like 39 hits. And then we just multiply by the average hit, which is 22,400 and something, right? So that's like 890k. So from that's after 1.6 seconds. So the hit plus all of the beams. But obviously we're gonna be attacking a lot, and we're not gonna be stopping after one attack. So there's like a bit of a ramp up because we keep spamming and spamming and spamming. So we're gonna have, I don't know, with this attack speed and ignoring Mirage Charger again, by the time the first arrows that landed, so that's after 1.6 seconds, we have 4.74. We have attacked 7.5 times and then multiply that by 5 arrows, so that's like 37 arrows. And 100 arrows is the maximum. And again, we have the Mirage Charger also attacking, and we're gonna have 3 Ballista Storms. So on paper, this looks pretty fucking crazy, considering the amount of tankiness I went to get to this build. It actually kind of looks like way too good to be true. Now, obviously, those damage values are gonna go down when we don't have Tempest and we don't have the Mind of the Council. Like we went from like 22k to 15k, which still is pretty good considering how much damage you get from that one hit, like one attack, and you have like 5 attacks per second or something like that. And then let's take a quick look at the leveling here, because this is a level 28 gem, and I'm not planning to level with it. So we're gonna do Toxic Ray leveling, yay! Which is simply wrong pathing. There we go. You go hit through here. You go here. You grab Wind Dancer. You get Toxic Strikes. You probably go here first though. You might need that. You're probably gonna go here. You might even want to just do this. You definitely want Exceptional Performance, and that's now level 66, which is like mapping. This is 163 life pool, which is definitely decent enough already. And I have Dynamo there in case mana is going to be an issue, but we are actually going to be mainly using ballistas for the single target. So this is 4 ballista Toxic Rains, and then we use ballista or Toxic Rain ourselves. You can use Withering Touch on it, but if you have Withering Step, I think it has a 3-second duration on the withers, and the higher level it is, I think level 21 it has 7 withers per use, because you're not gonna get that far before you swap, hopefully. if you link it with increased duration and efficacy, that's basically double the duration at high levels. So it's gonna be like 5 seconds probably, like early on, and then it has like a couple second cooldown. So that's gonna give you like 10 withers on its own already, and like that. So you can then swap the withering touch for like an actual damage support on the Toxic Rain if you want. I haven't tested it myself, so it's hard to say. But yeah, that's it. Again, don't try this. Oh yeah, I guess. Not sure if I said this already, but take Onslaught first. Element Avoidance from Merklab. And then Uberlap is the Avatar of the Chase for the extra Onslaught effect and the evasion. But you want this for the early Element Immune because it's going to make your life so much better. And you might even go as far as in doing this early on. But I don't think it's a need. You just do this and then you get a very... You unveil body armors and pray that you get the craft. And then you just craft the 25% avoidance on your body armor. And that's, boom, that's Ailment Immune right there. It's just Merklab. So yeah. Hopefully you guys have fun. Again, don't play this build. This might suck ass. Even though on paper it looks extremely tanky because it's Raider and it's MOM. And the damage looks like it could be pretty good, especially once you get Tempest and Mind of the Council, which shouldn't be too hard on Trade League. Well, yeah. We want to see the pain. This is what I'm playing with. Respec, or respec as in swap from Toxic Rain to Storm Rain should be once I get myself Stormcloud, which is early maps because Strand is a T4 map, so it's relatively easy to farm. Though you can also farm it in Act 6 if you want. There's a zone, the Brutus Chaperone zone drops this card, and the card for the Stormcloud is extremely common, so shouldn't take long to farm that at all. And it's a decent bow for Toxic Rain too, oddly enough. But yeah. I'll see you guys I guess later today. It's like what, 10 hours before the league starts, so bye bye.